Hi, I'm Taylor.
And I'm Wanqiang. The previous group has mentioned about the number of accidents that are caused by mobile phones, user and driver distractions, as well as the strategy to mitigate it. A marketing campaign that runs ads on Facebook to warn the viewers the consequences and enhance their learning through the subconscious has been proposed accordingly to deliver the message: don't strap the Rolex for handcuffs.
But is it really effective? Some say no for three reasons. The first one is that it would probably because of the higher chance of accident, as it would take for the viewer time to look through the advertise and even more time to interact and send a message with their relatives, if that makes sense. The second reason is that they would ignore if it doesn't make sense or attract them. The last reason is that it would be a waste if the phone user don't really use Facebook or the phone is not the reason that drive their distraction. Therefore, we are going to analyze the market strategy of the various groups, explain and identify the potential gap in the various group development and marketing analysis. The purpose of tonight's discussion is to examine and implicate the strategy following the 5 behavior influence. Before getting started, let's have a look at the target market. The project concentrates on the Australian 10% upper class middle age single from 35 to 64 who have their income reached 330,000 annual or above, no kids or live in the urban area. They have good disclaimed and knowledgeable. Some prefer driving luxury car themselves or to expose their level. Some otherwise prefer biking or walking to work to protect the environment. Some of them are aware that the risk of using mobile phone while driving, but due to their strict schedule, they tend to multitasking, such as using phones or to check email, read news, or friends' news feed to catch up with the new trends, or eating while driving to maximize their time and ignore the risks. They are the focus area 1, namely the distraction according to the Transport Accident Commission. They are the driver who have 10 times more at risk crashing thanks to their multiple tasking behavior. They are in the group of 30% driver and worker who admit using phone while joining the transportation. More than just mobile phone, anything such as GPS device, passenger, or eating can stop them from focus on the road. TAC recorded.
Now, following the message delivered by the Facebook ads running campaign, it can be easily observed that its purpose is to hit the problem recognition in the consumer decision making, to stress the consequences of mobile phone and driving distraction. This process occurs when the target customers recognize the gap between the actual stage and the desired stage. Obviously, the risks of accidents caused by the mobile phones and driving distraction reflects the higher in desired stage compared to the actual stage, and this is a emergency problem which is not expected but require an immediate solution. Although the campaign was expected to relieve some of the target's pain, it turns out to be ineffective when takes into account these 5 behaviors criteria. In order are perception and motivation as the internal influences and demographic, and the group influences as the external influences. Speaking of the perception, the previous campaign has done very well in terms of exposure and lured attention. Speaking of the exposure, it occurs when a stimulus comes within range of our sensory receptor nerves such as sight, taste, sound, smell, and touch. Facebook as the most usable social media platform in Australia with percent of 71 by statistics can successfully do its job. Speaking of attracting attention, the campaign has highlighted the message using the image of Rolex, one of the most preferable luxury watch brand, to reflect their actual status as wealthy, powerful and noble, and the handcuff as their desired status, imprisonment, and declines if they continue to their habit. However, it has revealed its ineffectiveness when it comes to the learning and memory stage. This stage refers to the process of storing experiences, values, and rules in the long run, which is the prerequisite of the motivation to consumer decision making. According to Van Arkel and Van Ost, Facebook, in fact, is the least effective channel to stimulate learning and memory because it increases a feeling of information overload, which decreases what people actually learn, especially for citizens who combine news via social media with other news sources. Additionally, using only Facebook as a marketing channel seems to be inadequate to reach their subconscious.
Motivation is internal state that tries to satisfy need. Motivation is an energizing force that activates behavior. When we recognize that we have a need, a state of tension exists that drives to the consumer to the goal of reduction this tension and eliminating the need. Consequently, only unmet need motivate. According to Maslow's hierarchy of human needs, for each need there are both positive gain and negative that are avoided by meeting that particular needs. At the position of the target market, which refer to the upper class, they have met the need of esteem and self actualization, which they are aiming for. Actualization is the final stage of the linear role of an individual. Maslow believed that self-actualized individual possess a number of characteristics that enable them to first satisfy the four initial category of need, and second to contend with the distorted relationship between free will. Example, the support capability of act based solely on our personal drive and determinism, the effect of social pressure and an internal consideration of how we will appear to others and effect our action will have on them. Since the target market contains people who have their goals, the previous campaign doesn't add any value to them to actualize themselves. The gift for not multiple tasking when participating the transportation is intangible, and they have to trade off their time and their habits with most of people surround them have, why the risk of crash is just a risk. Thus, no major motivation has been gained either to research or more information or seek to further solution.
Speaking of the demographic influence and lifestyles, the strategy only focuses on Facebook as the most used application without considering Instagram and WhatsApp, which occupy sequentially percent of 44 and percent of 31. At the meantime, it was found that the age from 35 to 64, especially those have high income, just spends approximately 1 hour per day to use social media. This narrow coverage itself has missed the chance to reach the target market. In addition to motivation, consumers belong to many other groups with which they share certain characteristics and which may influence purchase decisions. Often these groups contain opinion leaders or others who have major influence on what the customer purchases. Sometimes group members work in different buildings or live in different cities. If this is the case, the interactions among members will decrease, making it harder for the campaign to achieve its goals. In addition, it takes longer for the group to reach maturity when members are widely separated.
Considering the demographic, trade group influence, motivation, perception, and the other physiological influence above, the new campaign is to run the TVC that encourage their target market to use the self-driving car. If their job and their working schedule is the barrier that constrains their awareness of danger and consequence of accident when using phone and driving at the same time, plus the desire of actualize themselves as the identified motivation to move on, the self-driving can be a solution. A car that can operate on their own can say their tasks on browsing email, checking reports, updating trends, or reading news, and or even eating while driving them to trade off. It can also solve the issue regarding their goals, as it can protect the environment and guarantee their luxury lifestyles. According to our research, it indicates that 93% of our respondents watch our TVC and claim that they have recognized the importance of concentration when driving and the serious of the consequence of crashing due to distraction. The TVC is satisfying and attractive since it mentions about the luxury but environmental friendly self-driving car. When comparing with the previous campaign, it's the respondent found that the new one is more generic and positive as it has hugely motivate them to stop using their phone while driving. 92% were found that they urge to buy a Tesla car in the future.
Following the outcome of the survey, we found that the new campaign has particularly generated a positive outcome in terms of exposure and attention gathering following the perception. The implementation plan is to collaborate with the Robotics Lab of Australian National University, Coda Wellness, and Tesla to stimulate their ability to learn and memorize and turn it viral on three most popular applications: banners in the commercial building, digital newspaper, and YouTube. The reason for practicing these marketing channels is to amplify and exploit the viral effectiveness of the TVCs, to impact the five senses of the target to gain acquaintance in their substances. To improve and attract more attention, the TVC mainly focuses on the effect of their life. When the TVC gets viral as it is required, the message that is reflected throughout the image of the self-driving car will be automatically stored in the mind of the target consumers. Whenever they are about to use their phone, the message will immediately bump up in their head, which will stop their action immediately and assist them to rethink of their action and the price they have to handle afterwards. At the moment, group influence and the crowd effect will also be a tool that change the behavior of the upper class singles, since their motivation is identified as to actualize themselves. When on a self-driving, following the viral of the campaign will stimulate the others in their social groups to behave the same. The effect of the campaign keeps spreading out to their relatives who may in the lower social status, thus hopefully change the behavior of the community as a whole.